Welcome, welcome. It's been an absolute crazy week for Xbox this week, starting with probably one of the biggest corporate dumps, corporate leaks you're likely ever to see, which gave us an incredible insight into kind of Xbox's strategy and aspirations over the next 5 years, plus other stuff like, for instance, an inside view from the sort of the demise of Stadia as well. We've got all of that. Then you've got the Tokyo Game Show, which had some great news, some great games for Xbox. And of course, finally, it looks like the UK Competition and Markets Authority is going to approve. They have provisionally approved the deal. Finally, we've got all of that. We're going to be discussing it in loads and loads of details, lots of exciting stuff to talk about. So let's hit the titles.
It's the Monday Game Chat with your host, Clive Illenden.
Yokoso, arigato gozaimasu. Welcome to the Xbox. Well, it's not Xbox Monday Night Chat. It feels like it because there's so much Xbox news. It's the Monday Game Chat, of course. Not just about Xbox, although the majority of news is about Xbox because there's so much focus on it this week. It's been, as I say, absolutely crazy, starting with that snafu of a massive leaking of data, which just revealed so much juicy inside information about, as I said, about Xbox's aspirations, Xbox targets, the fact that we're going to buy, seriously considering acquiring Nintendo. I mean, just crazy stuff. And we're going to be looking at some of it and talking about it. And I'd love to hear your opinion on all of that as well. And then we have the Tokyo Game Show, and there was some I'm so excited because there's some sort of great Japanese games that are being announced as coming to Xbox, not just Xbox Game Pass. And we're going to be talking about Xbox Game Pass as well because figures released have revealed how much Xbox make from Xbox Game Pass. And it's pretty staggering. As ever, remember to hit the likes because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps, people like you find content just like this. And if you are new here, you're watching this, you've stumbled upon it, either live or later, why don't you hit that subscribe button, and toggle that notification bell. And that way you'll know when I do go live, which I do every week with the Monday Game Chat, where we talk all things gaming, really. And as I said, it's a packed show tonight. Also, let us know in the chat. Say hello in the chat. We're friendly here. Have no fear. Say hi and all of that. Let us know what games you've been playing this week. I'm always interested in that. Put it in the chat and say hello. Get involved with the chat. As ever, I have been playing Starfield. I was playing Starfield last week, and I went down into a section where you go down into the mine. And I was outnumbered, put it that way, outnumbered by killer robots and lasers in the ceiling, okay? And I had about a slither of health. And, it sort of saved me on that. And it took me hours, and I tried even going back to start the whole level again. But I just kept getting stuck with like a tiny slither of health left. And no health packs, although I knew where one was. 2 killer robots left and 3 or 4 laser turrets. But somehow I managed eventually to stay alive and not get shot, despite the odds, and get through the level. But boy, it was tough. I don't think I'd leveled enough for it. Sometimes you play a game and you think, should I be doing this level right now? Shouldn't I could maybe go off and do some other things and then upgrade all my weapons and all of that? I don't know. But I'm still enjoying it, I'm still just following the story through, doing the odd little side mission that I think I could sort of do really quickly. But yeah, I'm amazed that I see loads of stuff where I saw a guy built a whole town Not just like a space home. He built a whole sort of space town, a self-fulfilling space town. It was like, what? I want to get to that level. It sounds really, really interesting. But I am following through the story, currently through the Rangers story at the moment, and enjoying it. I've lowered the difficulty level because I was having problems in the mine, as I said. And I was thinking, I might as well just keep it on super easy, very easy, because I just want to play the story through. I'm not that bothered about the challenge and stuff and all of that. Jay Smith is in the house. Hello, Jay. Lovely to see you. And Neil, lovely to see you as ever. I think that we should just crack on. Talking of Starfield, and again, this is connected to the leaks I mentioned. Starfield, it was leaked. Bethesda expected to make almost $1 billion on Starfield. Now, this was their projections from 2020, I think. And of course, the game was put back. But one can assume it's similar numbers. So originally, these numbers started in the financial year 21, which is when Starfield was first scheduled. So you'll see in this chart here, where are we? Starfield here, 600 million in 2021. Obviously, the date was pushed back, but you can assume that you just move these numbers along, and therefore you see that the forecast for Starfield over that time, 600, and then in this following year, 215 million, then 50 million, 35 million, and they're going to be doing DLC and extra stuff, which is going to be very exciting. But yeah, their expectation is to make $1 million on Starfield. And I'm wondering if that must have factored in at the time Game Pass. Yeah. But there's no question that it's been really well received, and lots of people have really enjoyed playing it. So that doesn't look... Starfield, as of publishing... Starfield has seen over 10 million players. Now, a lot of them are on Game Pass, of course. Based on that, it seems likely that Bethesda will hit those revenue expectations. So, given the performance of Starfield, these would have been, I would say, conservative targets, maybe not ambitious targets, within the realms of achievability if the game sort of hit the mark. And I think we could probably safely say that the game has hit the mark in terms of the way it's been received. Some good reviews in general and stuff like that, and people seem to be enjoying it. So this $1 million revenue estimate it seems true, seems doable, seems achievable. So before all that, let's well, of course, the big news, before we get onto some of the leaks, because there's lots of juicy bits in the leaks and stuff. The big news, of course, the CMA, the new Microsoft Activision deal, according to the CMA, so the UK government CMA, Competition and Markets Authority, in their press release from Friday here, addresses, so the new proposal... This is the proposal to basically ring-fence the cloud gaming rights in Xbox titles and basically effectively license those, sell those to Ubisoft so that Ubisoft are in control of the Xbox cloud rights. Yeah, so basically divesting themselves. This is Xbox divesting themselves of the cloud gaming rights, giving it to Ubisoft, and then licensing back from Ubisoft, obviously, the cloud gaming rights so they can have the games on xCloud. But it allows Ubisoft to do deals with everybody else. And it comes with caveats from the CMA, which means that that Xbox was giving those rights to Ubisoft to manage, basically, and they can't really interfere. And if Ubisoft want to give those rights to somebody, for instance, like who doesn't have a Windows operating system, then Xbox have to provide them with the necessary, the access to the games to be able to convert them. So, for instance, if Stadia still existed, and we'll come to that later, and Ubisoft wanted to sell those games to Stadia, I mean, imagine Ubisoft had a really good relationship with Stadia. Now Ubisoft in charge of the Xbox cloud rights, cloud gaming rights, they'll be able to, do a deal with Stadia. And of course, Stadia is not a Windows operating system. But the caveat that the UK CMA say is they want to make sure that that wouldn't be a barrier to Ubisoft being able to license those cloud gaming rights, which we'll come to. But anyway, the big deal here is that this new proposal to basically give the cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft to manage, and it's an international deal as well. It's not just UK based. They're giving them the rights internationally, which is quite interesting. This addresses the previous Competition and Market Authority's concerns in cloud gaming. The sale of Activision's cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft substantially addresses previous concerns and opens the door to the deal being cleared. The CMA. So this is the CMA saying this. And the head of CMA has come out and said, yes, provisionally, they are happy with this proposal. They've still got to go through the bureaucratic kind of hoops and get it officially rubber stamped. But this is provisionally them saying it will be rubber stamped. It's just got to be rubber stamped, but it will be. So the background here, of course, is earlier this year, as we know, the CMA blocked Microsoft from acquiring the whole of Activision due to concerns the deal would harm competition in cloud gaming in the UK. That was the focus of the CMA. I've talked about it at length in videos and on my live shows. And the CMA stuck to their guns and they said, look, we've got real concerns because whilst Xbox have said, yeah, but we've done deals with, we're happy to do deals with Nvidia. We're happy to do deals with Boosteroid. We're happy to do deals with, other people. UK CMA said, yeah, but you say that, but ultimately you're still in control of those rights. And you also own the Windows operating system. So you could just say, well, we can only provide them to cloud gaming companies that use Windows. Yeah. And you're the only one that offers a sort of an all-you-can-eat subscription model. So if another company wanted to offer an all-you-can-eat subscription model that included Xbox titles, you might go, no, we're only giving you the license to sell the games, not, put them within a subscription model. So there are lots of ways that Xbox could have controlled that distribution of the xCloud rights, even though they're saying to the CMA, no, we'll do all these deals. By giving it to Ubisoft and saying, right, it's nothing to do with us now. We'll just license back what we need, but it's up to Ubisoft to do the deals. That sort of basically satisfied the UK CMA's concerns around it. And as I say, it comes with specific caveats. And those caveats include there's some very, and it's basically the CMA will govern this to make sure that Xbox adhere to this. But where is this section? Just trying to find it here. Well, basically it says they can't prevent Ubisoft from doing a deal with a cloud gaming company that offers an all-you-can-eat subscription package. Yeah? They're very specific about this. They can't prevent them if they want to offer them to somebody who uses Proton or Linux or something like that, then Xbox have to make sure the games can be ported accordingly. At the expense of whoever wants to get them ported, but they have to make sure that the code they have, the companies have access to the code to be able to do that. So, for instance, if Stadia had existed and Ubisoft said, we want to do a deal with Stadia, then Xbox couldn't prevent that from happening and would have to provide the code necessary for the porting of the games to take place. So anyway, that's the upshot. Basically, the CMA are provisionally going to accept it. I'm just going to try and look at... Yeah, so here we go. These are the undertakings. So this is really important. Ubisoft may not grant Microsoft an exclusive license. So any deal, so basically they've given the rights to Ubisoft and then they'll license back their own rights non-exclusively, as we say in the media world, non-exclusively for use for Xbox Game Pass. Ubisoft may not grant them, so Ubisoft cannot grant Microsoft an exclusive license to the Activision games, because that would undermine the whole point of it. Ubisoft may not offer Microsoft preferential pricing, or material preferential treatment with respect to cloud streaming rights, not made available to third parties. So, they could give them special treatment, but that special treatment must be available to another cloud gaming party. Yeah, they can't exclusively give them special treatment like, okay, we say you're the ones that can do it, stream in 4K exclusively, but nobody else can. No, they can't do that, right? Anything they offer Xbox, they have to offer another company. Microsoft must offer the Activision games to Ubisoft at a price that's no higher than the wholesale price. So again, Microsoft can't sort of up the price to make it difficult. Microsoft must provide Ubisoft with Activision games in a standard executable format, sufficiently in advance to allow Ubisoft to release them on the same date as they're released on console and PC. Okay, so Xbox can't sort of say, hold back the code until a week before the release on, the actual digital download release on Xbox, and therefore the cloud gaming like Nvidia. So, for instance, an example would be, when Starfield launched, it wasn't available on GeForce Now. And people were going, where's Starfield? Where's Starfield? Well, 3 days later, it appeared. Okay, that's because it takes a little bit of time, even though it's Nvidia GeForce Now is Windows based, it still takes a little time to onboard. And for whatever reason, Nvidia didn't have enough time, I guess, to do the onboarding process for it to launch in time, simultaneously with the actual day one launch. So it's 3 days late. So that may be an example where, that what they're saying here is you must avoid that. You can't hold back the code until the last minute. So the UK CMA, I know a lot of people sort of criticised them and said they were out of touch, but actually, I think what they've achieved and the guarantees they've achieved are actually beneficial for cloud gaming. And no, it's not. There's a lot of naive people going, oh, thanks, it's going to cost me more money in the UK. No, it's not going to cost you more money in the UK. To the consumer, there's no difference, right? Whether Xbox had all the rights in releasing them, there is a difference. The big difference is potentially they could be on Amazon Luna. Potentially, as well, we know they're going to be on Nvidia GeForce Now. They could be offered by Netflix. Yeah? Netflix could do a deal with Ubisoft for selective games. They might not do all the Xbox games, but say Netflix, say, okay, we're launching our full-on AAA gaming subscription service, and we need some big titles. We don't need all the Xbox titles, but we want Call of Duty, or we want Overwatch, or whatever it is. Yeah? So that's a subscription service. So Ubisoft could do a deal with them. And then here, Microsoft must port Activision games to non-Windows OS. So as I said earlier before, Stadia was an example of a cloud gaming platform that did not operate using a Windows operating system. Yeah, we know. So, and, GeForce Now uses Windows OS. They're basically the PC games, aren't they? Effectively the PC games. They're exactly the same as the Windows PC games. Amazon Luna is sort of the Windows PC games. There's a few tweaks they have to make for it to work on Amazon Cloud system, but generally they're sort of Windows. But the big problem, and we'll come to this when we talk about Stadia, with Stadia is that Stadia didn't want to use Windows because they felt it was restrictive and not particularly good for the future, and they had to pay license fees for it. And why would you want to do that? And that was the decision making in their heads at the time, Stadia. So a cloud gaming platform like Stadia that is non-Windows operating system, if Ubisoft did a deal with them, again, this is hypothetical, because obviously Stadia is no more, but a platform like that was a non-Windows operating system, Microsoft must port the Activision games. These are specifically the Activision games, interestingly enough. And Ubisoft may also request that the Microsoft perform technical modifications to ensure that Activision games support emulators like Proton. That was something Stadia explored later in their life. Ubisoft will compensate Microsoft for the Activision streaming rights through a one-off payment through a market-based wholesale price mechanism. So it has to be at market prices. So Xbox aren't just giving them, there has to be a market exchange, a value exchange that represents the true value in the marketplace. But basically, they have to do that deal. In the ideal world for Microsoft, they'd never have to sort of let go of the cloud gaming rights, but they've been forced to do it. But they're not forced to do it and not make any money from it. They'll get a market price in exchange from Ubisoft. And Microsoft will offer technical support for Ubisoft, the Activision games. It's interesting because all the focus is on the Activision games. Interesting enough. I never noticed that before. These criteria relate specifically to the Activision games. That's because that was the big concern for the CMA. But there you go. That's basically the breakdown. So it's a case of, it won't be till October that it's actually rubber stamped because that's the deadline. But basically when that's done, the only really outstanding thing is the FTC case. And as we know previously, their case hasn't been particularly, the FTC's case against Microsoft hasn't been particularly strong. And now Microsoft has done this deal, agreed to give the cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft. It undermines the FTC deal even more. So the likelihood is that that should be a shoe-in, really, as well. But interesting stuff. Let's just see what you guys are saying about it. Oi, oi! Hello, Internet of Games. Cloudbusters, good to see you. I blew it. So cutting through all the crap, how will I play COD in the cloud and how much it will cost you? Well, if you have Game Pass, won't cost you anything, Cloudbusters. And if you have GeForce Now, then you'll be able to play it through GeForce Now, thanks to their deal with Xbox Game Pass games. So there you go. It's not going to cost you anything other than what it would cost you anyway. That's the thing. I'm monogamous, but it can't be mono Game Pass. Very good. Yeah. xCloud and GFN day one. Exactly. So the deal 100% officially happened or what? Okay, Dev Bags. So this is the CMA provisionally saying that the proposal offered is acceptable. It satisfies their concerns. So as far as they're concerned, they are happy to approve. They still have to go through the process of bureaucracy, but effectively it will get rubber stamped once it's done that. They put it out to consultation, but there won't be any issues with this. as I said, the head of the CMA has gone on record and said, well, this actually said, you don't need the head of the CMA to say it because it says it in this. This is official. This is the official CMA, and it says it addresses previous concerns in cloud gaming, and that opens the door to the deal being cleared. They have to put it out to market to say, does anybody, it's like a marriage. It's like they're consenting to the marriage, but they have to just say, does anybody hereby have any reason with these two parties can't marry? Nobody's going to say, nobody with any value or for any valid reason now is going to say, yeah, we disagree. This is the key thing. But it still has to be officially rubber stamped. And I think that's in October. So Sarah Cardell, the CEO of the CMA, said, our position has been consistent, true throughout. It could only go ahead if competition, innovation and choice in cloud gaming was preserved. In our response to the original prohibition, Microsoft has now substantially restructured the deal, taking the necessary steps to address our original concerns. It would have been far better if they put forward this restructure during the original investigation, blah, blah, blah. So following the prohibition, basically consultations remain open until 6th of October. Here's the timetable. Let's have a look at yeah, so 6th of October, basically, roughly is the time when they expect to get it all officially rubber stamped. I'm still not sure what will happen with the FTC, but I think they'll probably go ahead. This is the biggest block, I think, personally. I don't think they're too concerned about the FTC. So COD will be on Game Pass, as long as Ubi gets it as well. Yeah. It will be on Game Pass. Because Xbox already said that. They just have to license back the rights from Ubisoft. But, they will make it available on Game Pass. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Yeah, Internet Games confirming there. Indeed, hit the likes, everybody. I've been hearing about 3-hour wait. Wow. I have noticed, and I discussed it last week, that they have been waiting times. I'm not 3 hours, but... And, we mentioned it, didn't we, last week, where I think that the Xbox seemed to have taken the pedal off any development or innovation on the xCloud side of things. But, if you've got GeForce Now, play it on there. To fire a gun. That is a high latency indeed. Exactly last week when I was in the mood to play Lies of P and it took me 10 minutes to get in. We'll have market parity until markets diverge. Indeed. First Descendant looks like a fantastic Destiny game, free to play. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think because it's not a priority for them, Jerome, now. It's always been a side dish. I've said it before now. And while Google was around and dabbling, with cloud gaming and Stadia, and nobody knew, was Stadia going to be a massive success or not, whatever, it got Microsoft's attention. They saw it as an existential threat to them. And so they rapidly worked on xCloud and all of that to get it up and running and, get it working. And then they, upgraded to the Xbox Series X servers and all of that. Well, now we've seen the demise of Stadia. A, that's indicative of where the cloud gaming market is, which we'll come to. And B, it's like slightly, that's why competition is good. Because it does seem that Microsoft have taken their foot off the pedal a bit on xCloud. Hello there, TJ04110, 0410. Anyway, I hope you're good. Hope you're well. Anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come to more on that as well. But let's talk about games, shall we? Other than Activision Blizzard. It was the Tokyo Game Show last week, and Xbox were big and representing. I mean, look at the graphic and all of this kind of stuff. Xbox is the Japanese gaming market has always been a struggle for Xbox. I mean, PlayStation is is emperor, in Japan. No surprise, of course. But PlayStation is emperor. And it's always been an uphill struggle. But they've been building and working on relationships. So there's some great announcements. So their presence, Phil Spencer was there and everything. I mean, Sarah Bond, they sent all the big wigs, all the big guns from Xbox to the Tokyo Game Show. That's how important the Asian market is, the Japanese market and beyond is. You send the big guys and girls there. So we had some reveals here, like the Forza Motorsport Hakone circuit and all its beautiful cherry blossoms and stuff like that. Nice. They revealed a bit more they showed a bit of Fallout 76 Atlantic City. Director Jonathan Rush made an appearance to introduce Atlantic City, a brand new location coming in December the 5th to Fallout 76. Elder Scrolls Online will launch in Japan on Xbox consoles. So big push there on an RPG. Also highlighted new content recently released in the Necrom chapter, which console players will be able to play locally this November. But the big thing were the Japanese games that are coming. So look, Ace Attorney, which I think I played it on Game Boy. Would that be right? I think I played it on Game Boy. I'm sure it was on Nintendo. But yeah, Ace Attorney, the trilogy, Phoenix Wright. One of the most beloved visual novel series of all time. And the original Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy is coming. It's not just coming to Xbox. I'm telling you they're doing the big deals. It's coming to Xbox Game Pass. I'm looking forward to this. And PC Game Pass. So you'll be able to play it on GeForce Now. And, of course, xCloud and Xbox, of course. And this is on tomorrow. It's coming tomorrow. I didn't realize the date. 26th of September. Very exciting. I shall have a look. For those not familiar with, I'll make sure the sound's down. But basically, it's like a court setup. And there are people who are lying in court and stuff, and you have to kind of capture their lies and all that kind of stuff. Apollo, and that's not all. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy, comprising 3 more games featuring a new protagonist, will also arrive for Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and Windows PC early in 24. Now, that doesn't say necessarily that it's on Game Pass, but Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy, definitely Game Pass. Check it out tomorrow. Then we've got Althea, The Wrath of Afuria, a new action-adventure odyssey created by 2 brothers and showed off never-before-seen gameplay. That's coming soon to Xbox, Windows, and Windows PC. Then we've got Euden Chronicle, 100 Heroes. Some more content from Capcom's Madcap Dinosaur Slaying online multiplayer game. I kind of gone off that. I played it a bit and then it was like, whatever. Let me know if you played Exoprimal. But there's a new trailer showing off the ocean platform map. And then, oh, hello. Hello, ladies. Hotel Barcelona. Is a long-awaited collaboration between game design legends Swery65 and Suda51. And they brought us never-before-seen gameplay from the self-styled 2.5D slasher film parodic action game. So it's a parody of slasher movies in a sort of 2.5 side-scrolling fighting game. Drawing influences from across horror's history, you'll be pitted against everything from alien entities to AI-enhanced sharks, of course, while stuck in an endless time loop filled with serial killers and only your deceased past selves to help you. Interesting. Then you had Infinity Strass, Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Raised His Name, Ishin. Yeah, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Raised His Name, and Like a Dragon Ishin will be joining Xbox Game Pass on day of its release. And Minico's Night Market, an adorable social simulation, has come to Xbox Series X and Windows PC and Game Pass. So this is what I'm saying. They've done these big deals with these Japanese games and companies, not just to release them on Xbox, which is always a struggle sometimes, not always, but sometimes, but to release them as Game Pass titles, to really push Game Pass. Then you've got My Lovely Empress, Indonesian studio, Octopath Traveler 2, which I thought was already on. Maybe not on Xbox. It's the Xbox release. Okay. Pal World and Ori features in Party Animals. And some Persona Tactica stuff. Oh, God, not more Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I'm still struggling with the first one. But anyway, lots of interesting news coming out of Japan there, Japanese games. But I'm most excited about Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney trilogy coming out on Xbox Game Pass tomorrow. Looking forward to that. See what you've been saying. FTC will dot the T's and cross the I's and may squeeze a little more blood from the stone, maybe. Or they'll just get sent with their tail. You know, the judge will just send them with their tail between their legs. Very hyped for the new Xbox controller over Wi-Fi and Direct Cloud. Exactly, yeah. Exciting, because if it does follow the Stadia model, I think that's a great thing. Microsoft's cloud gaming is going to ramp up the minute this deal crosses the line. Well, the titles are going to ramp up. I think they're more focused on acquisitions necessarily than technology at the moment. Who's staying up to play Phantom Liberty? Of course, yes, Cyberpunk. And by all accounts, is looking really, really good. The full path tracing that they did earlier in the year looked amazing, but they've reworked some stuff, and I've saw some images of Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Silverhand, whatever, and it looks like it. I mean, it looks even more like Keanu Reeves, if that's possible. It is a DLC, yeah. Yoshida, hello. How are you? Lovely to see you, Yoshida. Arigato gozaimasu. Yeah, it's an expansion indeed. It is indeed an expansion. There we go. So that's the news from Tokyo. Now, our good friend Inled, who used to always do amazing graphics for Stadia that I always used to show on the Stadia Monday Night Chat, has taken some of the stuff from the Xbox leaks that we had and put it in a beautiful, pretty picture. So this is some data, extracted data here on the sort of players on console by 2030. You'll see here, I reckon they'll have nearly 60 million, 59 million console players by 2030. And cloud, 30 million. And if you look at the chart over here on the you can see my cursor there, you can see the rise of expectation of cloud-first games here. This is part of their cloud-first strategy. It is taking up, I would say, 50% of the console market and even more of the PC first market. So they do, despite me saying they're not seemingly investing in cloud, according to Xbox predicted data that was leaked, they do see significant growth in cloud gaming. Now, some of this data came from about 2021, so it was maybe pre-Stadia demise. Whether those figures would be revised, I don't know. And then here's some Xbox subscriber Xbox Game Pass growth to 2030. So currently we're here around about 30 odd million to 60 million. So they expect to double it. They expect to double Xbox Game Pass subscribers, almost double it by 2030. And then year-on-year growth. I don't quite get this because this is xCloud. I guess it sort of steadies out is probably what it means there in terms of the data. But so some interesting graphics there from Inled, who always does amazing infographics. He finds a bit of data and puts it in a nice, easy chart so we can look at it. But I think this is interesting. The cloud gaming aspirations look like, and by 2030, they're saying it's bigger than PC first games. PCs on Game Pass for PC. They reckon cloud gaming will be a bigger chunk of the overall offering to Xbox subscribers. It's interesting. Interesting. Of course, in the leak, there was rumors of a handheld in their release schedule. So I did a whole video about the new Xbox console. So they're doing a mid-cycle console. This round one here, this cylindrical one. So in 2026, I think it is. So it'll be an Xbox Series X update, like they do mid-console. They just sort of rebox it, maybe reduce it in size, maybe increase the memory. So not the next generation of console, but just the repackaged version of the Xbox Series X. But within their plan is this handheld. I don't know whether that's still in their plans, but it was part of the leaked documents that they planned. They got this cloud device, which we know they did CAN. Yeah, so the Keystone, it was called Keystone. So ultimately, we know they did CAN this concept here. They may well have canned the handheld, although I think they can the cloud device because there's not a lot of point for it, in my perspective. Just do a smart app for your LG TVs like they have, or your Samsung TVs. It's easier to do a smart app and just make sure the app is installed on most smart TVs. You know, have the app that run, you know, a progressive web app that runs on Android and Google TV, one that runs on LG TVs, one that runs on Samsung TVs, and you've basically got the smart TVs covered, haven't you? But we have seen a rise in handhelds. The success of the Steam Deck. We've seen other versions come out recently, other handheld systems come out. So there's clearly a market for it. So on that basis, while they may have canned, this was the Keystone thing. Remember, I think it was this box up here in this picture behind Phil Spencer once, about 18 months ago, 12 months ago. And then it was later revealed that it had been canned. But the handheld may still be a thing. Let us know what you think. Would you get one? Would you get a handheld Xbox? I mean, Steam Deck has sort of shown the way that you can get AAA games running on a small device. I mean, you know, iPhone 15 is going to be running AAA games. So could we see a handheld Xbox? Is that a market segment that Xbox could aggressively go after? I mean, we know PlayStation are doing it, aren't they? They're doing their handheld version. So why not? I guess it's all about how powerful it is and the market price. You know, if it comes bundled, and, you know, no doubt it would come bundled with a Game Pass and you're sorted. I might be interested. I'm not really one for handheld devices for gaming, but, you know, might be interested in that. His son might like it. Take it on, you know, for him to take on holiday and stuff like that. Let us know. Would you be interested in an Xbox handheld device? Imagine if they did like a, you know, the Xbox equivalent of the Steam Deck that came bundled with Game Pass. Let us know what you think down in the chat below. So yeah, we had the whole roadmap leaked, as I said here, and I did a whole video. If you've not checked it out, you should check out my video on my channel where I do a whole deep dive on Brooklyn, which is the code name for the Xbox Series X refresh. It probably won't look like this in the end. This was obviously a mock-up for Xbox's own internal presentation that was leaked. But as mentioned earlier in the chat, what was interesting is this. Sybil, Faulty Towers, Sybil, the world's best controller now playing on a screen near you. So it has this play anywhere, direct to cloud. So you can use this controller and connect with the game. The idea was you connect with the game directly in the cloud, which is what the Stadia controller did. That was what's so innovative about the Stadia controller, that you connected directly with the game in the cloud. So you weren't going via another device and adding an extra link in that chain. Well, this new controller, Xbox Wireless 2, so updated wireless connection with your Xbox, direct to cloud, brilliant for xCloud gaming, and Bluetooth 5.2. Plus modular thumbsticks, thank God, because I'm sure this is the second controller I've got of the current series, the Series S and X controller, where I've got drift, and you can't really repair them. Like, you need proper tools to take it apart safely. So I'm all for modular thumbsticks that you can change and, you know, take apart and clean out and repair. So good for that. And I quite like this kind of this black and white layer. Precise haptic feedback, accelerometers, quieter buttons and thumbsticks. That's the proposal. So I'm quite excited about the prospect if they do bring out a controller like this. I'm particularly interested in that. That's quite good. Just whizzing along here with all the news. So much news. So, yeah. So talking about the next gen. So in the big leaks, they talk about next gen 2028. We can expect to see generation 10, Gen 10 of the consoles. And they talk about here building a new hybrid cloud gaming platform. So basically a mix, a platform that allows you to play hybrid cloud games. So what does that mean? From what we can tell, what that would mean is that you have your full-on AAA game. You download it, digitally. The majority of the game, anyway. You download that, so you're playing it natively. But there are things that you could do within the game, like stream in elements of the game from the cloud while you're playing, thus creating massive worlds with loads of NPCs or interactions. So they did something similar where some data, when you're playing Microsoft Microsoft Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Some of the data is streamed in from the cloud, as I understand it. Some of the world data, Earth data, as you fly around the world, is streamed in a little bit. And so I think that's a sort of an example of what they mean. So here, we talked about, on the Stadia show, what a cloud only game might look like, where you could be able to have 1,000 NPCs come over the mountaintop or whatever, massive worlds. So imagine like Starfield, where there's no sort of, you could literally fly and explore endless planets, because you could just stream as you get towards a planet, as you fly towards a planet, it could just stream in the data necessary for that planet seamlessly in the background. You don't even notice, and you land on the planet. So you really have a genuine seamless world. Starfield kind of fakes it a little bit, which is fine because of the limitation of a game, otherwise it would be, it's too large. A game, we get Call of Duty games which are nearly 500 gigabytes or something crazy, 200 gigabytes. But having a mix of native and cloud with data streaming in, you could just have a massive world. So this is what I think they talked about here, having this kind of hybrid, a console that would allow you to play hybrid games. It could achieve full convergence of its cloud gaming platform and physical hardware to deliver cloud hybrid games. The bringing together of cloud technology and powerful console and native technology to play extraordinary, games. I mean, you think about the data required, for instance, to go through, to manage AI. Yeah, you could get the cloud to do that. Making NPCs. I've done on my AI channel. I've talked about it here, where you don't have to have a dialogue tree for NPC characters. You can just give them some basic instructions and then let the AI control them. Give them some background story to their character, some information that they do have, but make sure, information they don't have. And then you just have a conversation with them. Now, to make that even more realistic, to make the animations match what the AI is making them say, and the voice to work and all of that, a lot of data crunching. You could get the cloud to do that, basically. So the main game is downloaded natively, but some of the AI is controlling that animation in real time, because we know how fast cloud is. So there we go. Yeah, exciting times. So, it will be interesting to see what Gen 10 console delivers. Will it just be, a faster Xbox Series X, or slightly more memory, slightly more powerful graphics card, just like the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5? Are we just going to see a PlayStation 6? Wow. You can load in some things quicker and the graphics look better and it has more memory. That's it, Or something really innovative that sets it apart. Imagine if PlayStation just do an upgrade. PlayStation 6 is just a faster, better graphics card and a faster, better CPU. Yeah, and a slightly larger memory. And maybe some fancy thing to their controller, and that's it. But Xbox come out with not only the hardware that allows you to have these hybrid cloud games, but the cloud game as well. That hybrid cloud game. Could be interesting. Let me know what you think in the chat, anyway, down below. There were so many leaks. It's crazy. We've done that one. This is interesting here in this report from Tweaktown, again, based on the leaks. Xbox Game Pass, according to their calculations, and we'll work out how they work this out, Xbox Game Pass made $230 million in 1 month. Most users pay for a full subscription, so a full Game Pass Ultimate. The majority of people who have Game Pass pay for Ultimate. I remember at the time when Ultimate came out, it made a lot of sense. You know, you had on, because you had Xbox Gold Live or Live Gold, you had Xbox Game Pass PC, or Ultimate, and Ultimate was such good value compared to adding all those things up individually. But yeah, so a few years ago, we pieced together a lot of information. In October 22, we uncovered that Xbox Game Pass on console made 2.9 billion revenue in 2021, as per a regulatory document. Shortly after, Xbox Gaming CEO Phil Spencer said Game Pass made around 10 to 15% of content services revenue. So they adjusted their calculations so they could work that out. Now Microsoft has delivered concrete data on Game Pass revenues. According to newly published Xbox slide deck, this here, which was part of the leak, it revealed, we won't go into all the data there, it revealed that Xbox generated an average of $9.26 per subscription, right? So on average, they generate $9 per subscription. We know there are 25 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers as of January 2022. That was based on this data leak. Yeah, the number of subscribers they had in 2022. Can't quite see it here. Right here, around here. So up there, so now, yeah, 25 million is their expectation. So based on that, you can calculate roughly that Xbox Game Pass may have generated around $231 million revenue in the month of April 2022, based on taking all that data and then crunching it. That's what you get. Interesting. You know, if they continue to meet their targets, I'm just deleting some of these tabs I've got open. It's tab crazy over here. Yeah, if they meet some of those targets, then, you know, Xbox is definitely a massive success for them. Interesting survey that UK Gov did. So YouGov, so not UK Gov, sorry, YouGov, which is a survey company, basically one of the biggest survey companies there are in the world. Did a survey on whether, if Call of Duty had not been on PlayStation could have forgone at most roughly 3% of its past console sales. So basically what it's saying is .4% of PlayStation gamers who ranked Call of Duty as their most favourite game or runner-up would have purchased an Xbox instead of a PlayStation if Call of Duty were not available on PlayStation at the time. So 10%, it's saying here, of people who rated Call of Duty. So then what you get, PS owners, so it's only 10% of the gamers who considered Call of Duty their favourite game, right, on PlayStation. So only 10% of the people who thought Call of Duty was their favourite game would have considered switching to Xbox and not buying a PlayStation, which is roughly 3% of their whole, the whole number of people who have a PlayStation. So the impact of, the rumor that somehow, or the fear that somehow Call of Duty wouldn't be on PlayStation, it would do damage. Here, the FTC's claim, this is why the funny feeling that the FTC will lose their case against Microsoft. Their claim that 20% of PlayStation users would shift to Xbox if the deal goes through is totally undermined by this survey taken by this top survey company, YouGov, because effectively they're saying about 3%, not as the FTC claimed, 20%. So I just thought that was interesting. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Before I dive onto my favourite subject, ladies and gentlemen, Stadia, of course. In some of the documents that were sent as part of the FTC case, Dov Zimring, who was one of the, top execs, Dov Zimring, as we all know, product lead of Stadia, right? He was on the board of basically the Stadia senior management, has basically given a report on what happened, in terms of the demise of Stadia. So not speculation by me, not speculation by other people, but actual person who was part of the senior management team of Stadia basically talks through why, in his opinion, as one of the senior management team for Stadia, as their product lead, why Stadia failed. So we're going to hit on that very quickly. Did you talk about... No, I didn't. But I think it was a throwaway line, yes. So Phil Spencer was saying if Game Pass didn't attain the projected growth, then they'd exit the gaming industry. I think that's what he's sort of speculating that if, in a way I was saying, I think he was saying, if we can't hit it, then we don't deserve to be in the gaming industry. That's almost the sense I got. But yeah, I didn't mention it, but now you've mentioned it, Gandara. Now I have mentioned it. I want to be excited about a handheld, but I feel a controller with my phone and mount plus GFN is preferable. I'd like a bigger screen. Even, I have what do I have? A Pixel 7. Yeah, I'd like a slightly larger screen, but then the device is too large for me to really want to carry it around. I think it would suit my son, but not me. Handhelds are overrated. I've never been a big fan of the Steam Deck. I was hyped up and bought a Steam Deck. I played a few sessions, didn't touch it again. Eventually sold it for a Series S. They are just flights of fancy, Gandara. I'll be honest, Gandara, I don't get it. I'm not a big fan of the handheld, but I realised that just because I don't like it, or don't like the concept, or just didn't get it, or as, Neil says, why don't you just play on your, get a controller for your mobile phone and play it on that, But, there are podcasts about it. There are people rave about there's a market for it. I didn't think there was a market for it, but there is definitely a market for it. But it's interesting, Gandara, your experience there when it came down to it. We grew up on big screens. Exactly. Young adults grow up on small screens. Yeah, but there seems to be... the game, sir. Game, sir. Gandara. Game, sir. Yes. Is it this one? Is it this game, sir? Sir? Is it this game, sir? Yeah. I find this a bit flimsy. But it's a great little device. Although the buttons are labeled the wrong way around. Although I've set them up so they're in the right position. The the X and the A, as it were. They're in the Nintendo style, the Switch style. Sorry, the Nintendo Switch style. So although I've configured them correctly, obviously the labels are still in the old, wrong way round. But I don't really look at am I pressing X? Am I pressing A? There we are, 350 quid, bargain. Microsoft Simulator, that sounds terrible. Yeah, just hangs and crashes. Yeah, imagine that. If you have ideas in this field and new gaming is opening out there for you in this gaming this decade, exactly. I needed Stadia to work, exactly. Kojima is the first. Yes, exactly. That's the sort of thing. They're working on a cloud native game, aren't they, with Kojima? Just finished Separate Ways, Resident Evil 4 DLC. $7.99 to check that out. It doesn't surprise me one bit if he's building scale-up for developers to build cloud-native gaming experiences. No, exactly. And, Google Cloud making their services available, and Amazon. Exactly. Ubisoft are part owned by a bigger company than Microsoft. Antitrust protection. They're still owned by Yves Guillemot, aren't they? The Ubisoft, still privately owned. Well, not privately owned, but they're still in the same family. The chief shareholder of Ubisoft. Anyway, let's dive into Stadia, the demise of Stadia. I'd like to spend more time on this, but I know, we've been doing an hour, so we'll just talk through it very briefly and let me know your opinion. So, as we know, it was only this year that Stadia actually shut down. Obviously, they announced it. They announced it almost a year ago. Almost a year ago to date. Like in October, wasn't it? But it closed down, this year, January this year. The lights were switched off. But, yeah. When was it? I'll just check quickly. I think it was either the beginning of October. Let's switch my account to that. Yeah, 11 months ago. Shutting down 11 months ago. So, yeah. Lots of interesting videos there. The reason it, I found. 1 year this Friday. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because it was almost the day before FIFA came out. That was it. The day before the announcement, we had Matchbox. Was it Matchbox racing thing, which was really, really cool, and it played so well. Was it Matchbox? What the toy car racing game? My brain's gone dead. It played super, super well, and we're all looking for the FIFA release of FIFA the following day, like on the 1st. And I think, yeah, you're right. Anyway, apparently, Google revised the business plans for Stadia in February 21. Yeah. So around the time that they closed Stadia Games and Entertainment Studios, that lowered subscriber goals for the platform as well as pushing immersive streams. So by the end of December 20, they had hoped to get 1 million subscribers. And as the Business Insider said, they fell short. The insider said they fell short, and now we know they did fall short. It says down here, as discovered in previous court documents, they'd reported only to have around 750,000 subscribers in its early days. Basically, I think in that first year, the target was 1 million subscribers. So they're short by 25%. Now, you might say 750,000 is a lot. I mean, it's nearly 1 million, yeah, but it's a 25% shortfall. So if you put that in revenue terms and you said, oh, we're short by 25%, year on year, you know, you've lost a year's revenue. If you think about it, in 4 years' time, you've lost the equivalent of a year's revenue. And in fact, it's probably more because it compounds. So basically, by December 2020, they'd missed their target by 25%, which is a big chunk. And so, plus the cost of development had rocketed by that time, and had sort of seen, you know, big acquisitions being made by Microsoft, and that, you know, billions of pounds being spent. And as we found out, you know, when Activision Blizzard ended up being 70 billion, it was like 2 billion for ZeniMax or whatever, and then 70 billion. And now you miss your target by 25%, your subscriber, which is fundamental, your bread and butter of your business strategy, you've missed it by 25%. So they decided to shut down Stadia Games and Entertainment and lower the subscriber goals for the platform, as well as pushing immersive stream for games. Yet, despite the drastic reduction in those expectations, Google Stadia still lacked enough players to have a viable business, even with this drastic reduction in the scope. So they clearly, and, you know, even at the time, you know, I was optimistic, but most sensible people, some people sort of said they've changed their scope and it's going to, and it won't work, or they're shutting it down. My view was, yeah, they've changed their scope and they've reconfigured the business strategy. And that is exactly what they did, just as I said at the time. Now, I was optimistic that that new business strategy, that approach, because clearly they hadn't met their targets, hadn't, you know, achieved what they wanted to do. And so they thought, okay, we just need to lower the expectations and remodel the strategy. Fingers crossed it would all work. Even with this drastic reduction in expectation, the scope of the service, Stadia was unable to attract enough subscribers. This is a senior management team, senior member of the management team of Stadia speaking. This is not me speaking. Stadia was unable to attract enough subscribers to maintain a viable business without any clear path to reaching critical mass. That's the whole point. You want 1 million in your first year. This is what I'm saying about the compounding effect. 1 million subscribers in your first year. 1 million, you know, 2 million and a bit by your second year. Well, if you're already short by 25%, that means by the second year, you're likely to be short by 35% or 40%. Yeah, if you don't have a dramatic shift. By the third year, you're short by 50%. You're going to have a compound. If you're short in your first year, unless you do something dramatic, it will have a compounding effect. So you either re-strategize and say, okay, let's reduce the size of our ambition. And that's what they did. Without any clear path to reaching a critical mass of subscribers, Google announced that they would shut down in 2023. So Zimring goes on to explain that Stadia's low player count led to struggles with getting AAA games on board. And that was a big complaint with Stadia, wasn't it? Where are the AAA games? Where are the AAA games? And, you know, people like me say, oh, we don't really need them. But actually, they did. And it became this self-fulfilling circle, this vicious spiral. It became a spiral. They had to spend all this money up front. Obviously, new platform. You need to get the big games on the platform. You need to get, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk, FIFA, Madden, you know, Resident Evil, how we all cheered Resident Evil Village. You know, they allegedly paid Capcom, you know, $10 million advance to get Resident Evil Village. But you can't keep doing that. But you have to do that when you launch, you know, Doom Eternal, all that, you know, with the big games. And then you hit your critical mass, and then you can go to the publishers like Take-Two and you go, see, look at that, all those subscribers. 1 million, we've reached 1 million subscribers. There's a real market here. And in year 2, we'll have 2 million subscribers. Suddenly, you Take-Two and your Rockstar, who are reluctant to give games to, Stadia, and EA go, yeah, okay, let's talk money. Show me the money. Let's do this. But by not hitting that subscriber requirement, by not hitting that target, it becomes harder to convince. EA going, fine, we'll give you these games. Are you still paying out those big bucks that you paid in the first year? Well, Stadia, well, no, obviously we can't do that because that's unsustainable. Then EA and Rockstar are going, oh, well, we're not bothered. We're not interested then. It's not worth our while. Too much effort to get out of bed. I mean, you hardly got enough. You haven't got your targets, your millions. So what's the point? If you give us loads of money, yeah, we'll keep doing it. But giving them loads of money is not sustainable. So developers who own the most valuable games, so we're talking, Take-Two, Rockstar, EA, etc., Activision, explain their decision whether to port a game onto a new platform like Stadia was driven by the growth potential of their games on that emerging service. Stadia's lack of important AAA games created a self-sustaining cycle whereby players would not subscribe to Stadia because it didn't have Fortnite, because it didn't have Call of Duty. And in turn, many AAA game developers would not develop a game for Stadia due to its small user base. So it became this spiral. Activision, before Microsoft was keen to acquire it, was apparently in talks with Google Stadia for quite some time and regularly requested updated subscriber figures. But they never reached agreement with Google due to the low subscriber count. So this complaint about, where's Call of Duty? I always said, don't be mistaken. Google are talking to Activision Blizzard and these people. They're talking to these big developers. They know they need to get Call of Duty. They know they need to get Fortnite on their platform. But they didn't get the deals done. It wasn't as though they weren't trying, but with obviously clearly their missed subscriber target. Then he goes on, as I mentioned before, Zimmering adds that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision will make it even more difficult for existing and new platforms to attract users and compete against Microsoft services. Hence the UK CMA, we've come full circle today, hence the UK CMA blocking the deal for this very reason. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision makes it more difficult for existing and new platforms to attract users and compete against Microsoft services. Thanks to the CMA, too late for Stadia. Yeah? A year too late. The irony. The CMA basically say to Microsoft, you've got to make your games, Activision games, available to platforms, even if they don't have Windows, like a Stadia. Almost a year to the week, like a week short of a year, Stadia announced their closure. Oh, the irony. If only they'd held out. If they'd held out for another year. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody at the weekend about it, and obviously, in a way, if Stadia had been a separate company, like a smaller company, with smaller expectations, it could have, built slowly, like a Boostroid. Boostroid don't have the money that Google have. But then again, without that money, you don't necessarily get those big games, officially get those big games on your platform. So you need to be a big company to be able to get the big games. But if you're a big company, spending that kind of money to get those big games, you need to have a viable business and get the big subscriber numbers. So you can't really operate as a sort of low expectation company and trundle along, which is kind of like what I and many people who were very supportive of Stadia kind of hoped. Once we realised that Stadia had, reset their strategy in February 2021, we kind of hoped that they would just okay, build it slowly. But obviously, Google is a big company and they don't have the patience to sort of, build something slowly. It has to work out the door. And, the reason they didn't hit the targets wasn't just because they didn't have the AAA games. It was badly launched in retrospect. I looked back. I did a video recently about Stadia 2.0. And, they announced, when they announced Stadia, they made a big thing about, imagine watching someone play Assassin's Creed on YouTube and then you press a button and then you jump straight into the game. Yeah, imagine that. What a brilliant, brilliant concept. Although the ability to do that didn't come out until nearly 18 months after Stadia launched. Why? Google own YouTube. It was almost as if YouTube and Google, like you often get in these big corporate organizations, are too siloed. And they go, no, they don't share. They're like, no, we're not sharing with you. We're not sharing with you. Well, you'd think you'd need somebody with an overview above Stadia and above YouTube to go, no, you guys, you got to help each other. Or at least YouTube, you've got to help Stadia. But no, you need, and that would come down from the top. You needed somebody. So if you look at Microsoft, they've got Satella, the head of Microsoft. He's really in on the gaming side of things. Whereas the CEO of Alphabet, we know is not really a serious gamer. So it was a nice project, Stadia. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll sign that off. Off you go. And that's it. What it needed is somebody higher than YouTube and Stadia to look down and go, right, we own YouTube. There are hundreds of millions of gamers on there right now. We've got this cloud gaming technology that we can integrate with YouTube. Right. Day one, that's what happens. But they never did that, did they? I mean, Phil Harrison, very succinct about what the offering was before it was launched. But when it launched, it didn't really gel with that vision. Eventually it did, to a certain degree, but by then the concept had not won hearts and minds. It won, like my heart, it won my mind, because I was excited about the technology and the idea of streaming, especially the idea of being able to live stream without using heavy resources. And that wasn't available at launch. So it was like, you would think, why didn't they, if they had the vision, why didn't they launch it fully formed? Yeah? Rather than to really win the hearts and minds, have the big games and launch the concept fully formed, integrated fully with YouTube. YouTube would have benefited. YouTube were in competition with Twitch, would have benefited massively. Imagine being able to give your streamers, even a cut of the game sales or something like that. Imagine that. How that would really push, the opportunity. Google owned bloody YouTube. The opportunity. But of course, as we often see in big corporate companies where departments don't talk to each other. I mean, it took, I'm a big fan of AI at the moment. And this is a prime example. The Alphabet Group had two companies, right? Two departments. DeepMind, working on machine learning, really pioneering and pushing things. And then have a different department, a different section, a different business pushing AI. Yeah? Doing their own thing. Working in silo, completely separate. Yeah? DeepMind working on machine learning and really pushing that. And then AI, the AI department doing their thing and really pushing that. And then OpenAI come out and then they get acquired by or get invested in by Microsoft or whatever, and then Microsoft announced that they're going to be integrating, ChatGPT in Bing and everything like that, and is going to revolutionize Bing search and all that kind of stuff. And Google realize they're in an existential fight. And they go, right, this is from the top. The top realize, damn, we need to pull our finger out when it comes to AI. We've got some of the best AI minds in the world, you know, producers and software developers and whatever, working on this. One over here in DeepMind and one over here in the AI. So they restructured because it came from the top, because they saw what needed to happen. And they basically said, right, DeepMind and you lot, AI lot, we are putting you together. Yeah? Because you need to be at the forefront. We're going to invest in you heavily and push AI, because this is the next frontier and Google needs to be there competing, because Microsoft are basically investing heavily in OpenAI, which is leading that. So we need to be the leaders, and we can't be the leaders if we've got two separate silos, you know, silos operating separately. And so they restructured it and brought them together and forced them to work together to develop Google's AI and machine learning together. That's what it needed. It needed somebody with that vision who was massively into gaming at the top of Alphabet Group to go, right, if we're going to, what can we use that sets us apart? Not just the technology and the cloud technology that we have. What sets us apart from Microsoft? What sets us apart from Sony and other players? Not only do we have the cloud infrastructure, not only we do have this cutting edge cloud gaming technology that we've developed because of our infrastructure. Yeah, we can deliver that. Secondly, we know that people love watching people play games. We know people love to play games and be watched and stream games. And we have the platform to do that. And the vision was bring it together. So in a way, like, you know, in hindsight, it needed somebody up there to go, if you're going to really, you know, we can leverage stuff that Microsoft don't have, which is a massive streaming platform, YouTube. Yeah. And YouTube should be going, yeah, brilliant. We could come up with some innovative ideas to really compete against Twitch. But no, it was never brought together. And that's, you know, and Stadia never met the required targets. And so it was easily, you know, when the tech crunch came last year and people were getting, you know, made redundant and cutbacks left, right and center, Google was on a hiding for nothing. So there we go. Who's going to give me another 3 years of cutting edge? Exactly. Piff. History will prove how great Stadia was. As it's been said, not just by me, by many people, the technology was amazing. Just the marketing and handling and the launch and all of that, in retrospect, complete car crash. Yeah? I'll never understand the hate. Well, it never won hearts and minds. That's someone's screwed embracer, probably. It completely changed my gaming future. Oh, Piff. Oh, Piff. I thought you went Piff. Piff are rumoured to be buying a lot of shares in Ubisoft to rival Tencent's 25%. I get you now. I've gone full retro back to Atari. Good for you. Yeah, I think they did, you know. But, you know, they would have paid back the, you know, money, because it was people who... These games were... You know, you had to buy the games. So they would have made the money back. But it's fronting up that money. The ports of Red Dead Redemption 2, they were great. Doom Eternal especially. Tencent, yeah, hand in glove with the Chinese in Europe. Too many people like me freeloading, not subscribing. Had too many great games to play. The thing is, there was a lot of games that I wouldn't have played. I wouldn't have chosen to play. But because they were available as Game Pass, I just loved that idea. So it kind of changed my attitude to gaming. That, you know, what I think it was Inled who, you know, we used to keep a running chart. And there was like, by the end, there was nearly $3,000 worth of games. If you'd been a founder and you'd claimed every Stadia Stadia Pro game, nearly forgot what it was called then, Stadia Pro game, from day one, you had about $3,000 worth of games. Unbelievable. They were, and did you see what Microsoft was paying for Game Pass entries? For a marketing company, Google marketed like, yeah, they did. It did spell the end. Well, it immediately spelled the fact that they were restructuring the strategy and maybe not as confident in it. And I think that sent ripples and ricochets through, you know, if the company that's selling the product is not confident in the product, then how do you expect the consumer to be confident in the product? You know, people don't know, you know, who are into gaming, whatever, unless they're like, you know, fully into Stadia. You know, the headlines were Stadia closes a department. You think, what? But they only opened 12 months ago. So immediately in the hearts and minds of gamers, you know, who don't read behind the headlines, this is what was so frustrating for me and many, you know, people who were into Stadia who kind of said, no, they're just closing down and re-strategizing the business strategy. But to the headlines were like, Stadia's closing down a section. Well, what kind of message does that send to gamers? Well, what's the point in me investing in Stadia? Apparently, it's on its way out. It's closing. Well, it's not closing. And so that becomes self-fulfilling. And, of course, in the end, it did bloody close. It was madness. I fear it was fluffy marketing group that was like, organic growth and fan-made is the key. Yeah. Well, I think NVIDIA is it's just about the technology. They just want people playing PC games. They've said it. I've been in meetings with GeForce Now. That's their raison d'etre. It's technology, pushing their technology. Not about the games. They don't want to develop games. They want people to use their technology and showcase their technology and do that playing games using their technology. Yeah, absolutely. NVIDIA never interested in making games. But what, in a way, with Xbox clearly, or Microsoft clearly not really investing in xCloud, and Xbox Game Pass and Activision games being available on GeForce Now, Xbox don't need to invest in xCloud. You just let that, you know, NVIDIA have a real opportunity to be, well, they already are, but to be the number one way to play games in the cloud. It is completely different model, exactly. I'm going to rush through some of it so I miss it. Indie firm rejected PlayStation Plus Xbox Game over undervalued games. I saw that. Very interesting, Miguel. Yeah. They were saying, yeah, that they're losing the value in the game. Yes, exactly. Anyone else here, Clive's inner Stadia is still dying inside his outer shell. I can. Ooh. I know. Yeah. Well, returning the money was cool. It could take up to 18 months to get approval to make a change to Google search. Yeah. Well, this is what happens. Big companies sometimes, they have the turning circle of an oil tanker, or they just torpedo the boat. Anyway, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. An hour and a half of quality gaming podcast. NVIDIA's Lightspeed Studio develops RTX versions of existing games. Yeah. As a demo, I would say, Al Davis Music. They do that to demonstrate, as showcase their technology, and what a good job they do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I shall leave you, love you and leave you there. I hope you found it interesting. There was a lot to talk about, lots of interesting information. Enjoy your gaming this week. Remember, as I say, Ace Attorney launches tomorrow on Xbox Game Pass. I, for one, shall be giving it a go. I might even ask Lord Kensal, as a lawyer and a lord, to play the game and see what happens. see whether he can win his case and all of that. Have a wonderful, wonderful gaming week. And why don't you join me same place next week for the Monday Game Chat. Have a great one, guys. And remember, hit the likes on the way out as you leave the door. Close the door and hit the likes.
Thanks for watching the Monday Game Chat with your host, Clive Illenden. Don't forget to hit the likes, subscribe, and consider becoming a member. Hit the join button today.